She's my friend's aunt. And somehow, she's the one making me question everything I thought I knew about love. The story begins with the young male narrator, early 20s, thoughtful and observant, stepping into a familiar yet slightly uneasy setting. A small weekend gathering at his friend's house. The air smells faintly of coffee and polished wood, the quiet hum of conversation occasionally punctuated by laughter. He's there out of habit, part of the social circle, but today he notices something he hasn't before, his friend's aunt. She's in her early 40s, poised in a way that seems effortless, the kind of elegance that doesn't demand attention but naturally draws it. Her movements are calm, deliberate, reaching for a cup, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear, laughing softly at a private thought. He notices the way her eyes crinkle at the corners, the gentle curve of her smile. There's warmth in her presence that feels almost magnetic, something familiar yet distinctly her own. Their first interaction is brief but laden with subtle tension. He offers to help her carry a tray of snacks to the living room. Their hands brush when he steadies the tray, a fleeting contact, but long enough to leave a lingering warmth in his palm. She looks at him with quiet curiosity, her gaze measuring, thoughtful. It's polite, yet there's a flicker of something unspoken, a momentary spark that makes his heart beat a little faster. He clears his throat, trying to appear casual, though his voice feels too loud in his own ears. The conversation is light at first, small talk about the weather, mutual acquaintances, a recent book she mentioned reading. But underneath the surface, there's a current of awareness. He notices the way she tilts her head slightly when listening, how she leans in a fraction closer, just enough for him to feel her subtle presence. When she laughs at a comment he makes, it lingers in his ears, a soft echo that seems to wrap around him. For the audience, this moment establishes both characters vividly. The young man's internal perspective allows us to feel the mix of nervousness, admiration, and curiosity. She is confident, self-assured, yet there is an almost imperceptible vulnerability in her eyes, a hint that life has taught her caution, and yet she allows herself this brief openness with him. The scene closes on a small, charged moment. They reach for the same snack, their fingers brushing again, this time with a fraction more awareness. He laughs nervously, she smiles knowingly, and in that pause, the room seems to shrink around them. It's a quiet, intimate heartbeat in the middle of a mundane gathering, and the audience feels the tension. A slow-burn connection that neither fully understands yet both recognize. This first encounter sets the tone for the entire story, subtle, emotionally rich, and grounded in sensory details. The audience senses that what begins as casual curiosity may evolve into something deeper. The story's hook is in that fleeting touch, the lingering glance, and the silent acknowledgement of possibility. A seed of romance planted quietly but deliberately, ready to grow. After their first encounter, the young man can't seem to shake her from his thoughts. There's a quiet anticipation in the air every time he sees her, a sense that ordinary moments now carry an undercurrent of something unspoken. Their second meeting happens in a more private, relaxed setting. Perhaps the living room later that evening, or the garden as the sun dips toward the horizon. He's helping her with something small, organizing boxes, setting down a tray, or picking up a stray blanket. But even the simplest acts seem charged with meaning. The conversation begins casually, but the tone shifts subtly. She mentions a minor frustration at work, the stress of managing her household, or an unremarkable personal anecdote, but he listens with sincere interest. There's no rush, no desire to impress, just genuine attention. She notices it too, and for the first time allows a trace of her guard to lower. Her voice softens, the edge of fatigue or tension in her words giving way to quiet amusement. The way she laughs, lighter this time, makes his chest tighten. It's not just attraction. It's the magnetic pull of emotional connection. There's a moment when they share a cup of coffee or tea. Their hands brush against the warm mug, and he feels the faint pressure of her fingers against his. The subtle, almost accidental, but enough to awaken awareness. She catches his glance and smiles, a knowing, almost conspiratorial smile, as if acknowledging the tension without needing words. Sitting nearby on the sofa, their knees come close without planning. A quiet comfort settles over them, and yet the nearness feels intimate in a way that makes his heart beat faster. Small gestures become meaningful. He adjusts her sleeve as she bends down. She lets her hand linger near his for a fraction longer than necessary when passing him something. Every touch carries weight, and the audience can sense the electricity in these tiny moments. The slow-burn romance is being built through proximity, touch, and silent acknowledgement rather than overt declarations. The emotional intimacy grows in these small confessions. She talks about things she rarely shares with others. The doubt she feels in her life choices, her unexpected happiness at small joys, and the fleeting moments of loneliness she doesn't voice aloud. He listens, offering gentle reassurance, making her laugh softly, or simply nodding in understanding. The audience is drawn into their connection, feeling that delicate balance between friendship, admiration, and something more forbidden yet tender. By the end of this part, the tension has escalated without words needing to state it outright. Their bond feels real, human, and subtly magnetic. The young man senses that she is no longer just a friend's aunt. She is someone who matters to him in a way that confuses and exhilarates him simultaneously. The audience feels the slow-burn emotional intimacy deepening. The lingering touches, shared smiles, and quiet confessions are laying the groundwork for a romance that will unfold naturally, gradually, and beautifully. By now, the young man has begun noticing the little things. Subtle gestures, fleeting glances, the way her presence seems to linger in his mind long after they part. Today, the tension grows more palpable. Perhaps they're helping each other carry groceries into the house, or reaching for a book on the same shelf, or walking side by side through the garden. These are ordinary moments, but the closeness brings an awareness neither of them can ignore. It begins innocently enough. Their hands brush as they reach for the same object. A book, a glass, a small package. The contact is brief but electric, and they both pause, feeling the unspoken weight of that moment. He catches himself holding her gaze longer than usual, noticing how the sunlight glints in her hair, the slight curve of her smile when she senses he's looking. She tilts her head, a soft laugh escaping her lips, acknowledging the awkwardness but letting it pass with grace. These small touches and shared spaces create a current of emotional confusion. He finds himself overthinking every glance, every word, every smile. She, too, seems aware of the growing tension but doesn't retreat. Instead, she allows these fleeting closenesses to happen naturally, testing the boundaries with subtlety. A hand brushing against his arm as she reaches for something. A lean that leaves their shoulders brushing. A shared laugh that draws them nearer without either realizing it. The narrator's internal conflict deepens. He is acutely aware of the age gap, of social expectations, and of the lines they're not supposed to cross. Yet, with each accidental touch, with each moment of closeness, the pull between them grows stronger. His chest tightens in a way that is both exhilarating and unsettling. The audience feels his hesitation, his awareness of the forbidden undertone, and his fascination with the woman who, unknowingly, has become the center of his attention. She, on her side, experiences her own internal stirrings. She catches herself noticing his attentiveness, the way he mirrors her movements, the small gestures that reveal his thoughtfulness and care. There's a flicker of admiration, of curiosity, of something she hasn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. She wonders, fleetingly and privately, if these moments mean more than mere coincidence. The silence between their words begins to speak volumes. The power of this part lies in the unspoken tension. The audience can sense that attraction is growing not through dialogue, but through body language, lingering touches, and stolen glances. Every accidental brush of hands, every close proximity, every shared laugh is loaded with meaning. It's a slow, deliberate dance of awareness and restraint, a buildup of longing that neither fully understands but both feel deeply. By the end of this section, the audience is fully immersed in the emotional ambiguity. They can feel the friction, the desire, and the hesitation in the same heartbeat. The romance is no longer merely budding. It is simmering, quietly burning under the surface, ready to move toward confession, tension, and deeper intimacy in the next parts. As days pass, the young man and the ant find themselves more aware of each other's presence, even in moments of ordinary routine. There's a growing intimacy, subtle yet undeniable, that neither of them can ignore. In this part, the story shifts to the inner emotional landscape, showing their hesitation, self-questioning, and the delicate balance between attraction and restraint. The woman begins reflecting quietly, perhaps while preparing tea or tidying the room, on the unexpected way he makes her feel. She notices the ease of his presence, the way his gaze lingers on her without judgment, the warmth in his laughter that seems to reach her in a way few others do. Yet there's hesitation. She is conscious of their age difference, aware of the social boundaries, and mindful of her own life choices. There's a tension between desire and caution, between longing and restraint, and the audience feels it in every carefully observed glance she casts his way. Meanwhile, the young man experiences his own conflict. He's captivated by her grace, her confidence, and the subtle vulnerability that peeks through her polished exterior. But he hesitates, unsure if what he feels is appropriate, whether he's reading the signs correctly, or whether he risks overstepping an invisible line. Each interaction leaves him more aware of her presence. The warmth of her hand when she passes him a cup, the way her shoulder brushes his when they walk side by side, the faint scent of her perfume that lingers in the air even after she moves away. A small incident heightens this emotional tension. Perhaps another person compliments her, or she laughs at someone else's joke in a way that momentarily makes him feel an ache of jealousy. It's fleeting, subtle, and human. Not possessive, but indicative of the depth of his emotional investment. She notices his attention, the slight furrow in his brow, the quiet shift in his demeanor, and for the first time, she recognizes that he matters to her in ways she hadn't anticipated. Physical proximity continues to play a key role in conveying unspoken feelings. When they sit close on the sofa or stand near each other in the kitchen, their subtle gestures, brushing hands, adjusting a stray strand of hair, handing him something with fingers briefly touching, carry weight beyond the ordinary. The audience can feel the slow crescendo of tension through these small, intimate moments. This part also explores the unspoken communication between them. Long glances, hesitated words, and shared silences communicate more than dialogue ever could. Their connection grows not through explicit confessions, but through the shared understanding that they are both feeling something profound, yet neither is ready to fully acknowledge it. Everything comes to a head during a quiet, private moment. Perhaps a walk in the late afternoon, sunlight soft and golden as it filters through the trees, or a secluded corner of the house where the sounds of the world fade away. The young man and the ant are together, close enough that their shoulders brush occasionally, the air between them thick with unspoken tension. There's a sense that the slow accumulation of glances, touches, and shared confidences is about to culminate in something significant. She finally speaks, her voice low and slightly unsteady, breaking the silence that has built around them. You make me question my choices," she admits, each word deliberate, heavy with vulnerability. It's not a declaration of romance, but a confession of the effect he has on her, the way he stirs feelings she thought she had contained or carefully set aside. The audience immediately feels the emotional weight of this moment, the culmination of days spent in subtle closeness and hesitant admiration. The young man's reaction is a mixture of surprise and awe. His heart races. He wants to respond, to say something, anything, that captures the depth of what he feels. His hands tremble slightly as he reaches out, perhaps brushing her arm lightly, letting his fingers linger a fraction longer than necessary. The moment is intimate but YouTube safe, charged with emotion, not sexuality. It's the first tangible acknowledgement of the bond that has been growing in silence. There's a pause, filled only with the quiet sounds of the setting. Leaves rustling in the breeze, distant birds, the subtle echo of their breathing. In this space, every small gesture carries immense weight. She glances down, nervous but open, allowing herself to feel without words. He meets her eyes, seeing both the uncertainty and the longing reflected there. It's a silent conversation of vulnerability, a mutual recognition of attraction tempered by caution and respect. The turning point is also a test of restraint. Neither of them rushes. Neither pushes the moment beyond what feels natural. Instead, they allow the closeness to be enough. A shared laugh at something minor, a lingering look, or a gentle touch of the hand is enough to solidify their emotional connection. It's in these restrained gestures that the romance becomes real. A slow, deliberate intimacy that resonates deeply with viewers who crave emotional authenticity over melodrama. The audience senses that this moment is pivotal. The story has moved from subtle attraction and internal conflict to mutual acknowledgement. The tension that has been simmering for days is finally given voice. Yet it's still delicate, restrained, and human. The scene closes on a note of anticipation. Their feelings are now openly recognized. But the path forward is uncharted, leaving viewers invested and eager to see how the emotional bond will deepen in the following chapters. After her quiet confession, the relationship between the young man and his friend's aunt enters a new, delicate stage. They are no longer merely aware of each other. They are consciously navigating the space between friendship and something deeper. Every interaction carries a weight that neither of them fully articulates, yet both feel profoundly. This part focuses on intimacy that is tender, deliberate, and emotionally charged without crossing into overt romance. They find themselves spending more time together, often in private or semi-private settings where the world fades away. Perhaps they are sharing a quiet evening on the living room sofa, soft light from a nearby lamp casting gentle shadows. Maybe they are reading side by side, her head occasionally brushing against his shoulder as she reaches for a page, or he is helping her fold laundry, their hands grazing in small, lingering touches. Each gesture is deliberate in its subtlety, an acknowledgement of presence, warmth, and connection. The beauty of this part lies in restraint. Every movement carries emotional significance. A hand brushing lightly against her hair as he helps tuck it behind her ear, the comforting warmth of his arm brushing hers as they pass an object, or the gentle touch of fingers as they share a blanket. The audience feels these moments intensely because the physical gestures are grounded in emotional authenticity. The romance is expressed through closeness, presence, and care, not through words alone. Their conversations deepen, too. They speak of small, meaningful things, dreams, regrets, and moments that have shaped them. He listens with unwavering attention, offering subtle support or encouragement. She responds with soft smiles, quiet laughter, and occasional pauses that reveal vulnerability she rarely shares with others. Every word, every look, every breath between them contributes to an intimacy that feels both safe and exhilarating. At times, silence becomes their language. Sitting side by side on a porch swing or walking through a quiet garden, the comfort of simply being near each other speaks louder than words ever could. Their bodies lean subtly toward each other, their presence a warm, unspoken reassurance. He senses her comfort in his nearness, and she senses his protective attentiveness, each moment reinforcing the emotional bond they are building. The young man notices small details that deepen his affection. The way her eyes light up at a passing comment, the soft tilt of her head, the subtle warmth of her hand in his during fleeting touches. She, too, notices him, the sincerity in his gaze, the way he instinctively mirrors her movements, the quiet patience he shows. These details make their bond feel real, lived in, and emotionally intimate. By the end of this part, the audience sees a romance that is simultaneously tentative and profound. Their relationship is a dance of restraint, desire, and affection, filled with meaningful gestures, gentle touches, and quiet moments of vulnerability. The slow-burn connection has matured into hesitant intimacy, a stage where emotions are fully acknowledged, physical closeness is carefully explored, and the promise of something deeper feels imminent. It sets the stage perfectly for the story's resolution, where emotional fulfillment and romantic clarity will finally arrive. After days of quiet longing, tentative touches, and shared confidences, the story reaches its emotional resolution. The young man and his friend's aunt have navigated the delicate terrain of attraction, restraint, and vulnerability. Now, in a private, serene setting, perhaps the warm glow of a late afternoon sun in the garden, or a softly lit living room with the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. They confront their feelings with a mix of clarity, hesitation, and tenderness. She looks at him, eyes reflecting a mixture of admiration, nervousness, and quiet courage. Her hands rest lightly on the edge of the table or fold gently in her lap, and he notices every subtle movement. The way her fingers brush against each other, the soft tilt of her head, the slight curve of her lips that carries unspoken emotion. He reaches out carefully, letting his hand brush against hers. A slow, deliberate gesture that is both intimate and respectful. There is no rush, no expectation, only the shared acknowledgement of what has grown between them. The conversation that follows is soft, measured, and deeply human. They speak honestly about their feelings, the unusual nature of their connection, and the quiet joy and apprehension it has brought. Perhaps she admits her fear of stepping beyond boundaries, and he shares the vulnerability he has felt in navigating his own emotions. The audience senses that these words are not just dialogue. They are the culmination of weeks of emotional buildup, small touches, lingering glances, and quiet confessions. Physical affection remains tender and safe, yet charged with meaning. Their hands remain lightly intertwined, a gentle brush of her fingers against his thumb, a reassuring squeeze. She may lean briefly against his shoulder, and he allows her the comfort of his presence, feeling her warmth without overstepping. Their closeness is a reflection of trust, understanding, and the quiet power of shared intimacy. Every gesture reinforces the emotional connection that has been growing since the story began. If this story of unexpected connection and slow-burn romance touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Comment below. Have you ever experienced a connection that made you question everything, just like them?